So over the past like month in lockdown, I read 45 books. I've already talked to you guys about some of those books in my August wrap up. I think 15 of the 45 books that I read were books that I read in September, books that I haven't talked to you guys about. So those are the books that I want to talk to you guys about today. This is my September reading wrap up, and we're going to split this into two parts. In September, I read some really good books. I found some 5-star, 4-star reads, some new faves. I have been dying to talk to you guys about them. And saying that though, I also read some not so great books. So two parts to this wrap up. There's going to be a part where I talk about my new faves, and then a second part, a part 2, where we talk about the not so good books that I read. So we're going to start by talking about the good books that I read, my favorites. Let's start with the first book that I read in September, which was the only physical book that I have on this wrap up, on either of these wrap ups, and that is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Very that, honestly. Not that this is like the third book in the series, but the last few books that Taylor Jenkins Reid has published, Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, there has been one character that has kind of popped up in both of these books, Mick Rivera, who is this famous singer. And so Malibu Rising follows Mick Rivera's like family. We kind of see his backstory, but Malibu Rising mostly follows the children, right? There's Nina the eldest, the two like middle brothers, Jay and what's his name? Hud, and then the youngest daughter, Kit. And the like story is framed around this one night. Basically one night every summer they throw this huge party at Nina's house. Nina's very, very famous and she has this huge house and they throw a huge party, right? And so the story is kind of framed around this one party, so it's kind of just set over this one night, and a lot of shit goes down. It's a lot of drama. Taylor Jenkins Reid writes really, really great, like rich, famous people. Like she just makes it so fun to kind of watch them all be a mess. And so we follow them over this one night, but we also see like all the flashbacks, the history. It's kind of a generational story, and we kind of know that this story is going to end, like it says on the back, that by the end of the night, by the end of this party, the whole house, Nina's huge fancy rich house, ends up in flames. It burns down. So we kind of know that this party is going to go not well at all. It's going to be an absolute disaster. And so this book kind of follows that, but really it's just like a look at, it's like a character study basically. It's a look at people, it's a look at relationships. All of her books are so well done in the way that all of the characters come together. I think this is, I definitely don't think this is her best book. I gave this 4 stars, whereas I think I gave Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo 5 stars, because this book definitely, unlike the others, seems to go off and tell the stories of side characters that you would probably only expect to see for like one page or only be mentioned briefly in passing at the party. You don't really expect them to be characters, but you kind of get to see inside almost every single person's life that you meet in this story, which very interesting. I really liked it, but I don't think it like left a lot of time or as much time to focus on the main cast of characters, the Reavers, the siblings. And honestly, like I'm just not very interested in Mick as a character. Like he wasn't great in The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, he wasn't great in Daisy Jones and the Six, and he wasn't great in this either. And I appreciate that Taylor Jenkins Reid did not make this a story about him, but you can't ignore the fact that he is the connecting factor between all of these books. He is the reason that the story exists. You just like can't ignore that, and it was kind of just irritating me the whole time that I was reading this, I'm not gonna lie. But this was classic Taylor Jenkins Reid. As I said, I gave this 4 stars. It was pretty decent, it was pretty fun. I was going to talk about a KU romance, but I actually think, looking back, that I don't like it that much. So we're going to talk about that in the books that I didn't like. So the next books we're going to talk about are, it's a trilogy, and I feel like if you are at all interested in like smart erotica romance, chances of you having heard of these books is likely. These books are The Doctor, The Poolboy and the Architect by Nikki Sloan. Easily these are like the filthiest books I've ever read. Oh my goodness. Chapter after chapter, page after page of full-blown descriptive smut. Is that the police coming to get me for talking about smut on YouTube? That's essentially what these books are, but you know what? Nikki Sloan did it very, very well. These are all kind of like taboo romances as well. So The Doctor is an age gap romance. Our main character ends up breaking up with her boyfriend and he turns into a piece of shit, but his dad is nice. and so our main character ends up getting with her ex-boyfriend's dad. The pool boy, kind of similar concept except like reversed. Our main character is an older woman and her best friend's son cleans her pool. He's very interested in her. They get together. And then the architect, kind of just completely separate. Our main character kind of gets introduced to like the BDSM lifestyle. Her next door neighbor is a dom, and they kind of get into a relationship, but he's away a lot for work, and so he gets like a stand-in dom. Like he finds another dom to like have a relationship with her while he's away on work. So basically she has like two doms pretty much. Kind of turns into like a throuple of sorts, kind of. It's complicated. Anyway, these were all just like solid smutty books. Like if you're looking for some kind of taboo, very in-depth, detailed smut, but I appreciated that the relationships were still there, the relationship development, and there was still a presence of romance to these books. I liked that. So if you're looking for something like that has, it is more smutty than like romance, but there is still that presence of romance there. It's not just full-blown erotica. These were all really, really good. I have heard so many people recommend these books. Totally see why. Personally, my favorite was The Doctor. I think that one was done the best in my opinion. I will say though, The Doctor like had me pissing myself with laughter. Like that's the thing, like these books, sometimes with books like these where there are very specific kind of like relationship dynamics and kinks, I cannot help but laugh. So in The Doctor, obviously she's with her ex-boyfriend's dad, so there's an age gap. He very much kind of gives off like call me daddy vibes, but obviously like he's a doctor. It's called The Doctor for a reason. It's because he's a doctor. And so they also do like doctor play. Like she's all like, ooh, I can't even talk about it without like not laughing. She, you know, they're kind of just like, oh, do you need a checkup? The doctor will like see you now, kind of memes, except like not memes because they're taking it very seriously and they're both really, really into it. And it just kind of got so funny to me at the end of the book. The main character actually like has to go to the hospital. Like she actually gets ill, and the doctor, her ex-boyfriend's dad, is the one who ends up treating her. And it's just, I just found it hilarious, the fact that they'd been in this hospital before and they'd been role-playing, but like and then she actually needs to get medically treated. I just found it funny. But they were still really well done. Nikki Sloan knows her craft. She did this wonderfully. Moving on to some Kindle Unlimited alien romance. I randomly picked up Broken by the Horde King. I cannot remember who this is by, but I think this is like the third or fourth book in a series, and I think the other books in the series follow a group of humans who've been abducted, taken to this alien planet, and I think originally they're used as slaves and then they break out and they kind of, you know, discover this alien planet, discover other aliens who are nice and don't treat humans as slaves, and I'm assuming the other books also have romances between other aliens, whatever. This book is a little bit different from what I can tell. It's like the only one like this in the series where our main, I was gonna say main female character, but she's also our main female human character, is like born on this like alien planet. Like she's found as a baby by aliens. She's taken in with an alien family. She's raised in an alien community. Essentially, like she knows she's different. She knows that she's not an alien, but for all intents and purposes, she is fully raised up in this alien planet, in this alien culture, right? And this is kind of like a childhood friends to kind of enemies to kind of lovers, where our human main character is interested in essentially what is like the prince of this alien community that she grows up in. I really liked how this one you kind of just got thrown into the alien culture. I kind of liked just how simple it was. Really, I feel like with alien romances, when humans get abducted and then they have to get introduced to this new alien planet, it can get a little bit complicated, especially if you're building a romance on top of that. I thought this was good. Like, I don't think it was the best romance that I've ever read, honestly. I think I gave this 4 stars because it was fun and it was enjoyable. It wasn't amazing. And I'm mostly mentioning this because this led me to read another alien romance series, which I absolutely adored. I absolutely don't know how to pronounce the series name. Slusanian? Slicanian? You tell me. Either way, there are 4 books in this series. The first one is Choosing Theo, second one, Freeing Luka, the third one, Saving Verrako, and the fourth one, tempting, auzed or auzed. When I say that I ate this series up, I am not even kidding. I picked up Choosing Theo, I think immediately after reading Broken by the Hoard King. Didn't expect to love it. Oh my god, absolutely loved it. And then I spent the next day reading the other 3 in the series. Couldn't do anything else, just absolutely had to read all of these books, and they were all so good. So let's discuss. Basic concept is a bunch of humans have been abducted from Earth very much illegally, and they end up on this one alien planet where you learn that a few years ago this virus kind of just killed off a whole bunch of this alien population. Specifically most of the women and pretty much all of the children. So we're left with this alien planet that has an abundance of men, barely any women, and like no children whatsoever, right? So some of these aliens have kind of taken it upon themselves to reach out to other planets in the solar system to try and see if there are any other species out there that can help them reproduce, up the population.
Hello, Stinky!
Hi.
Hello, Stinky viewers.
Also, they illegally steal the humans, they're kind of running tests on them, whatever. And Choosing Theo, the first book in the series, starts when one of the humans who is meant to be abducted ends up being separated from the group of humans, and so she comes to this alien planet all on her own. She's very, very lucky to be discovered by some aliens who are nice and not doing the illegal human abduction. And so they take her to the alien town and she meets the queen, the alien queen, and the alien queen is like, I will let you be a part of our society. You can just join in, specifically join in by choosing a husband. Now, the way that this alien planet works, because there are plenty of strapping young alien men available.
Sexy.
Yeah, sexy. I think it's like every 3 months or so, essentially, the women get to choose a husband. So it's like a rotation. They pretty much just want to rotate the men into the women's lives. And the 3 months are kind of like a trial period. So a woman gets to pick an alien that she's interested in. They get to spend 3 months together, husband and wife, technically. See if they have a good connection or if they want to have like kids together, and then they can extend their relationship for a few more months until the female alien is like pregnant. And so the whole like appeal of this series is the fact that the alien men go to husband school. That's like how I heard about this series, is that the aliens on this planet all go to husband school for like years so they can learn how to be good male wives, basically. And so Choosing Theo, our female main character, what is her name? Jade. She gets thrown into this kind of dating husband-wife society. Like she has to go and she has to pick an alien husband. And she chooses Theo, if you couldn't tell by the title. And Theo's whole thing is that he is kind of like part of this alien like species, but his mom was from like another alien planet, so he's kind of half of this other alien species, and because of this he's kind of been like shunned from society in a way. Like the other alien women don't think that he's hot, they think he's kind of ugly and like kind of barbaric and gross. Jade thinks he is the hottest alien there, facts, because he kind of is. And so she picks him, and he is like very suspicious of her because he is kind of he's basically like an assassin, and he fully just thinks that someone has sent Jade to pick him as a husband to like figure out his weaknesses and take him out of the game. He fully thinks Jade is there to just like ruin his life, and so it's kind of like an enemies to lovers situation because of this, but obviously it's like a lot more than that. I just loved everything about this series, from the setup, the like overlying plot across like all 4 of these books, with like the human abductions going on and like the illegal kind of testing that's going on. Very much felt less like alien sci-fi romance and kind of more like a lot of like paranormal romances that I would read and love. Verrako, he is a different kind of like alien species. There are a whole lot of different alien species in this series, right? But Verrako is he was basically just like an alien vampire. Like fully in this book, when he meets his little human that he falls in love with, he is fully just like, I want to bite her. I have fangs and I want to bite her, which is not like, that's the most vampire shit I've ever heard. But yeah, while this is like an alien romance, it felt very similar to a lot of like paranormal romances that I would read and enjoy. This was just so fun. They're all like pretty decently short. The writing super accessible but very decent quality, which you don't always get with Kindle Unlimited, unfortunately. I loved all the characters and these were surprisingly emotional. I feel like, I mean, I haven't read a lot of alien romance, but Ice Planet Barbarians and Broken by the Hoarde King, I don't know, they were just kind of like almost kind of felt like a little bit memey to me. These were just so good. I loved these so much. I will say I think the third book was probably my least favorite, mostly because I found the human main character Lily just like a little bit annoying. Essentially, she gets like really caught up on the fact that because her alien that she falls in love with is, you know, he's a part of this husband school like wife rotation. She's very hung up on the fact that he is meant to like be with other aliens, and to her that's like cheating. Like, she very much, it took her a very long time to get like over some culture differences, and that was very frustrating to read on like in like the third book when you as the reader are already like used to those differences. I think the first book, Choosing Theo, was probably like the sweetest. I think the second book, Freeing Luka, was probably like the most emotional. I found that one really emotional to read, and I absolutely loved the fourth one, Tempting Auzed, however you say his name, because it's essentially like fake dating. It was so good. I really liked that one. But all of these are just really, really fun. I was genuinely surprised by how much I loved these. I gave all of these 5 stars purely for enjoyment and like, of course, quality of the content, but I enjoyed them so much I gave all of them 5 stars. Those were all the kind of like non-human, non-contemporary sort of romances that I read in September, but I have 3 other romances that I read that I really, really enjoyed, and a kind of just gen lit book that I want to talk about. So the next book that I read in September that I really, really loved was Little Dove, and this is a Kindle Unlimited kind of dark romance, a little bit taboo romance, also kind of like a mafia romance, sort of. Mainly this is like an age gap romance with a kind of daddy dom love interest. And when I say like daddy dom love interest, I mean I can barely remember this guy's name because half of the time he is referred to as daddy, like on page, in context. So if you're not into that kind of like dynamic relationship, whatever, don't want to pick this up. Also, again, the age gap. Our main character, Juliet, is like 17 when she meets this guy, the love interest, Mr. Daddy Dom. Nothing happens until she's 18, but still, like, very big age gap. I think he's something in his 30s. You know, I definitely can see people not enjoying this. And so our Daddy Dom, what is his name? Maximo? Max? I think it's Max. He very much is like a businessman. He owns a lot of very like popular hotels, casinos, all that sort of stuff, but it is also very obvious that he is involved in some shady business. So kind of that mafia aspect as well. Essentially, Juliet, our main character, her father is a boxer of some kind. He's a fighter, and the story starts on Juliet's 17th birthday. She's at home with her dad when her dad tells her to like get in her wardrobe and hide. He sees some people coming up to the house and he tells her to hide herself away, don't come out no matter what she hears. Juliet is kind of used to this. She's used to unwanted and unexpected visitors. Her dad, as a fighter, has like a lot of enemies. He's pissed off a lot of people. I'm pretty sure he's in like a bunch of debt. So she hides and she listens as these men come into her home and kill her dad. And for whatever reason, she jumps out of her little wardrobe, she runs out, and she doesn't like confront these men, but she definitely does not stay hidden. They see her. The leader, who is our Daddy Dom Max, he doesn't want to kill her. Essentially, he didn't even know that Juliet existed. He thought that this boxer guy, her dad, who owed him a lot of money, had been like telling people that he had a daughter so people wouldn't kill him. Max didn't believe him and kind of just went to his house and killed him anyway. So when he sees Juliet there, he kind of realizes that he fucked up and that he was wrong, and that kind of throws him. Surprisingly, he feels bad about it. So when Juliet faints at the sight of this, like his, like Maximo's like big beefy guard pointing a gun at her. Daddy Doll Max is like, okay, pick her up, we're gonna take her home. And so he takes Juliet back to his house, and I say house, but really he lives in like a giant mansion. Essentially gives Juliet the space of like a small apartment within his house and kind of just leaves her to it. They don't see each other for a good solid year or whatever. He just lets Juliet live her life, which, you know, definitely fits into the kind of dark mafia taboo romance that this story is. But I really thought that this was done really well. Basically, I've been reading kind of a bunch of these sort of dark mafia romances on Kindle Unlimited. I think I talked about a few of them in my August wrap up, and I basically just got very sick of reading the same cutout stereotype characters that we get in these kind of romances. Usually our female main character, we usually get told that she's kind of like a bad bee. She's very strong-willed and she's not gonna, you know, let this very dangerous man, whoever her love interest is, ruin her life. I'm thinking of that one book in that one series. I'll put the cover on the screen. I'm just like so sick of seeing, like, being told that we're getting these very strong female characters when they're really not, and having their romance act as like the redemption of the male main character, who like that absolutely does not work. Like, it doesn't, because none of these other male main characters, none of them have any kind of like character development at all. Their character development involves falling in love so they no longer want to kill the female main character. Like, that's really not much, right? That's really not much. I really liked how in this story Juliet does actively try and change her circumstances. She is actually very strong. She's a very strong female main character. We see at one point in the story she tries, I know she's been kidnapped by Daddy Doll Max, but like later on in the story other people try to like kidnap her from him, and she puts up a fucking fight. Like, that scene was so impressive. She fully fights off like some grown-ass man. Juliet put her whole ass into that fight, and she won. She got away. She did good. And I also liked how Mr. Daddy Doll Max actually had some character to him. He had some depth. We see, obviously, like the very first time that we see him killing Juliet's father, he realizes that he fucked up. He made a mistake. He was wrong. So he does his best to fix it. He takes Juliet in. He, you know, gives her an education because she hadn't gone to school. And then when she turns 18, he's like, you can leave. I will buy you a house. You can go live in the city. You can go to university. You can do whatever you want. You never have to see me again. Which, like, maybe the bare minimum. Oh my gosh, but it is so much better than any of the other kind of dark taboo male love interests that you get. And I also liked how once they got into like their romantic relationship, we see that he actually is, like, he genuinely treats Juliet as an active partner in the relationship. Like, a lot of dom alpha male love interests very much are like, once they realize they love the main character, the female main character, they're like, she's mine, and she has no choice in being with me or leaving me, whatever. That's it. She's mine. It's a done deal. Several times, Daddy Dom Max goes, you can leave whenever you want. Like, there is a part when they first kind of get into their relationship where he takes Juliet to kind of see some of the business that he runs, the sort of shadier business. And he's acting really weird the whole time, and Juliet's like, what is up with you? Why are you being so weird? And he goes, well, you deserve to know everything that you're getting into with me. Like, you need to know everything about me. You need to know that I do some shady business. I do illegal things. And you need to know this before you you actually make the decision to stay with me and be with me in a relationship. Again, the bare minimum. It is not much to ask, but apparently it is, because all the other kind of stupid dark mafia romances that I've been reading, at least on Kindle Unlimited, that would be unheard of. Oh my god, it wouldn't even cross the male love interest mind to do something like that. I just really appreciated both of the characters. I was really rooting for them to get together to work out their relationship issues. They were so good together. It was genuinely so sweet seeing their relationship develop. All around, like, a very, very good dark taboo mafia romance, because it had those aspects of, you know, the dark taboo mafia romance, but they weren't atrocious. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this. I read this and then I went and I reread it like immediately. because I just had such a great time reading this. The next book I read in September was interesting, to say the least. Basically, I read Luster by Raven Leilani, and essentially this is a story about a 20-something-year-old woman. Is her name Eddie? It's something like that. Her name is never really used very much in the story, and basically she gets into this relationship with this older married white man. This guy, he's in an open marriage, like open relationship. They start dating, but then the relationship kind of changes and the wife kind of gets involved, not romantically or sexually, but very much involved in our main character's life. And then our main character kind of gets involved in their whole family dynamic and also gets introduced to their daughter, who is an adopted black girl. Our main character is black, she's a woman of color, and we kind of see very interesting relationship dynamics between all of them. Like, this book definitely poses a lot of questions, like, why is this older white guy so interested in this 20-something black woman whose life is kind of a mess? And then when the wife gets involved, you really start to wonder, like, why is the wife getting involved? The wife is obviously very not happy with this like open marriage arrangement, and so when she helps our main character out, when she invites our main character to live in their home, you kind of stop and you kind of go, what is happening here? Like, what is this relationship dynamic? It makes no sense. There is a period of time in the book where the husband is away, I think like on a business trip, and so you just see our main character spending time with the wife and the daughter. It's very, very complex. It's very, very interesting. The writing was superb. This is definitely like one of those books where you can read it once and then read it again and you notice different things each time. Something new will stand out to you. Very layered, very multi-dimensional. Like, there isn't really like a point, I guess, to the story. Like, it's not like a fantasy or romance book where there's a start and there's an end. Like, you go from point A to point B. Like, obviously this is a whole conclusive novel. Like, obviously there is a start, a middle, and an end, but you can't simply put it as our main character like starts off single and then ends up in a relationship, because that's not what happens. This, I think I only gave this 4 stars, but it's one of those books that are kind of haunting, and I definitely think I'll think about this a lot over the next few months. Like, I don't think this book is going to leave me anytime soon, and I definitely think I will want to pick this up again sometime in the future. Then I read a new release romance, a romance that was a new release in September that was so hyped. Like, the book hadn't even come out yet, and I was seeing several like TikToks a day about this book. I was seeing people on Instagram review this book. I was seeing people on Goodreads talk about this book. This book was everywhere and it hadn't even come out yet. So when The Love Hypothesis came out, you know I picked it up immediately. You know that I read it, and you know, like everyone else, that I really liked it. It was really good. I see what all the hype was about. This is essentially a Kylo Ren fanfic. Like, this was originally a Kylo Ren fanfic. I thought that was a joke, but no, apparently this was a published Kylo Ren fanfic. It's obviously been like changed a little bit, now published as its like own story. And I'm not gonna lie, I was reading this, and then every now and then when we would have scenes with Adam, the love interest, it would throw me, because I realized that I was meant to be picturing Adam Driver, who obviously plays the Star Wars character Kylo Ren, and I like realized that Adam Driver was meant to be the man that I was picturing, which, don't hate me for saying this, totally ruined the mood for me, because I do not think Adam Driver is attractive. Like, I can see it, I can see why people think it. Like, I'm not saying I think he's ugly or anything like that, absolutely not. He is just not my brand of hot man, right? Like, he's just not. I hate it. I hate missing out on things. Like, I would love to sit here and thirst over Adam Driver with all of you guys, but I just can't do it. Sorry. So I was reading this, and then I would like kind of, Adam Driver's face would like jump out at me in my mind, and it was kind of like a traumatic experience. But apart from that, this was a very, very sweet romance book. Fake dating, which I absolutely love. The guy falls first, which I absolutely love. Very much our main character is like a bit of a mess, but she was an endearing mess, and we get right into the thick of it in her messy life, because we see right at the start of the book, in a moment of panic, we see Olive one night run up to a random man in her science lab. She's a PhD student, a master's student, in science. She's in the lab one Friday night. She runs up to a random man and kisses him because she told a little porky to her best friend. She told her friend that she was going to be out on a date, not like working on her thesis in the labs, right? And she freaks out because she thinks she sees her friend at the lab. So for some reason she thinks, well, if my friend sees me kissing a guy in the science lab, she can't, you know, maybe we just stopped by the science lab on our way home, maybe that's where we were meeting up, like she can't deny the fact that I was with someone. So she runs up to this random man, jumps him, kisses him. Turns out that it's Adam, who is a professor at this university. He teaches science, not the science that Olive is doing. They're in like different departments, but obviously Olive is like mortified that she has kissed a teacher, a professor, and things kind of get worse for her when rumors start spreading that they're dating. And so Olive kind of goes up to Adam and she says like, I'm really sorry, we should put an end to these rumors. And Adam's like, what if we don't? What if we lean into this? I could really use like a fake relationship right now to my advantage. It's a whole thing for him. And so they started this fake relationship for both of their benefits, but obviously they end up falling in love. This was just a solid romance. I will say the ending, I was a little disappointed at the end. I don't know, I just think the last like 10% of the book went by a little bit too quickly. I don't know, like I didn't really like the way that the relationship developed in the first like 80%, and then the relationship very much escalates very quickly in the last like 10-20% of the book, but it's like there wasn't enough time for it to really feel like we'd gotten everything out of the relationship that we could have as readers. Personally, that's how I felt. I definitely like my endings, my romance endings, to have a little like I want to see them being together as a couple, happy. They're happily ever after. Like it's enough to say that they lived happily ever after. Obviously we know as readers that they live happily ever after, but I still want to see it. We just didn't really see it in this. So apart from that, totally worth the hype. This was solid. I gave this 4 stars. And then the last book that I read, I think possibly like the last book that I read in September that I absolutely loved, was Gothikana, a Kindle Unlimited book. It's like a dark academia romance, and absolutely if you're looking for something a little bit spooky and a little bit sexy coming up to Halloween for October, this is absolutely a book that I would recommend. What is this about? This is about Corvina, a female main character. She's like 21, 22, and she's kind of been living on her own ever since her mother died. No, her mother didn't die. Her mother is kind of, does she have dementia? Something like that. Her mother isn't very well mentally, and so her mother has been sent away to a facility where she can actually get the help that she needs, and ever since then Corvina has been living on her own. And then one day she gets a letter in the mail inviting her to a university. The University of Verrako. Very strange. She gets a letter saying that they would really like for her to come and study there. She believes that this letter from this university is a sign for her to go. She thinks that it'll bring some really big things into her life. So she heads off to the University of Verrako, and we learn very quickly that this is a very strange university, not only in like the way that it's run and the way that it has a very small like student and staff body, but we learn it has a very dark history. Some spooky, dark, mysterious things have happened here on campus, and Corvina kind of gets into the middle of it when she starts getting to know one of the teachers, Vad, and Vad is like very mysterious, and he has definitely been involved in some of the dark, mysterious, spooky things that have happened at this university. And so Vad and Corvina kind of get caught up in trying to figure out what is like going on at this university, because things are very weird currently in the present day. Things are happening, and so they're trying to figure it out. They're also trying to like uncover the history of this university. Vad himself is very like closed off, mysterious. Everyone he's kind of like the bad boy. All the students have a crush on him. Technically, he is also a student. He's currently getting like his PhD, but he teaches on the side. And it's just like very obvious that something's going on with him. He knows some things, he's doing some things, like something, he's a little bit off, right? Everyone loves him, but he's a little bit weird. This was just like the perfect blend of dark academia and romance. I loved the mystery behind the university, the deaths, the disappearances. Oh my gosh, it was done so well. I also really liked the addition of the romance between Corvina and Vad. I thought it was done really well. I loved how at the start of the book there's like an author's note, and the author goes, you probably will be annoyed by Vad and that's fine. That's like, he's meant to be kind of one of those annoying sort of like asshole love interests. I don't know if it says something about the type of books that I read, but I thought Vad was lovely. Like, genuinely pretty much a true gentleman. I mean, at the start their relationship is very insta-lovey. They do like a double take, they do the double glance, they stare into each other's eyes, and they feel that immediate connection. And I will say Vad is like a little bit cringe at the start, you know. He like, whenever him and Covina are alone, he's like, Covina, don't look at me like that, and she's like, look at you like what? And he's like you want me because you can't have me, I'm a teacher. Like, he's a little bit over the top angsty when Covina is literally just like having a conversation with him. Like, a little bit comical in a sense. I kind of love that though. But like, once Covina and Vad were together, like solid, their relationship had moved past that awkward first stage. So solid. He was so lovely. I loved him. Also, the plot twist at the end, just like quickly jumping to the plot here, plot twist at the end I think was done very, very well. Kind of took me by surprise, not entirely. Like, I could actually see how that was set up, but I didn't exactly call it, which is really refreshing because lately I read books and I'm just not surprised by anything. So that was really nice. Will say though that the like, again, the plot, like the mystery aspect of the plot, the dark academia part of the plot, felt like it was resolved very, very quickly. We're talking like over one chapter. But this like made me feel the way that I felt when I read The Secret History for the first time. Like, obsessed with how like dark and gritty this is. It was so good. I think if you're into dark academia and kind of dark romances, this would totally be something that you would love. Highly recommend. Those are all of the books that I read in September that I absolutely loved. I hope you guys maybe learned about some new books that you would maybe want to pick up. I will be back with a second kind of wrap up video where I talk about the books that weren't so good. Books that I would highly advise that you avoid. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching this. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you guys with another video sometime soon. Bye!